You know what wasn't a good game? The Getaway. Stop, I need your details.
Zeus!
Idiots! Bloody amateurs!
Come on, get in the car, quick! Zeus!
Get off me! Put me down!
Come on, get him in! Go!
Don't worry, Zeus.
Get our boy back. Get our boy.
Zeus! Susie! Ah!
Let me ask you a question. Have you ever seen any movies made by Guy Ritchie? Like Snatch or Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels? Now imagine someone made a video game interpretation of those movies, but they took all the fun and dark humor out of it. That is the recipe for Sony's 2002 game, The Getaway. I really wanted to like The Getaway, but I just can't do it. Now, I didn't play the full game when it had come out, but I did play the demo of it when it came out in PlayStation Magazine, issue 65. The only thing I remember about it was being confused why Sony was hyping up the game so much. From what I remember about the demo, I couldn't figure out what I was supposed to do. You're supposed to chase after someone in a car, but I would fail at it every single time. When I would find a car, I would start driving around and realize I don't know which way they went, and then I would fail the mission. I didn't realize at the time the car blinkers were the only navigation in the game. I didn't realize that this would be a bad omen for the game when I decided to play The Getaway recently.
Where's my son, you fat bastard?
Patience, Mark, my boy. All in good time.
Warning you, Charlie. If you don't tell me where my son is, you better kill me now.
Is that any way to greet an old friend? Stop talking and start listening, Hammond. You're in no position to be making demands.
What's this all about, Charlie? I've been out nearly 2 months and I'm not in the life. I don't do this shit anymore!
Relax, son. You'll do yourself an injury.
I'll do you an injury, Charlie. I fucking swear I'll kill you.
Get back here.
There are great frustrations when deciding to play through The Getaway. It's hard to know where to start with this game, but I will try nonetheless.
It's the game we're going to play. It's a bit like Simon Says. Only you do what I say. I ring you, you do the job. You don't do what I tell you, the kid dies. You don't do it where I tell you, the kid dies. You don't do it when I tell you, the kid dies. You getting my drift?
The game tries to emulate the dark and gritty tone of the movies made by Guy Ritchie, as I have stated earlier, but it forgot to import the dark humor, or any humor at all, from those movies. And while they did try to bring the typical crime drama script to the video game, the story and characters are mostly forgettable. You play as a man whose son is kidnapped by Charlie Jolson and blackmailed into committing crimes against rival gangs to regain power in the underbelly of organized crime in London. And if you decide to try and quit the game and come back to it later, you get to watch all of the mission's cutscenes all over again. That's right, the cutscenes are unskippable in this game, even if you've already played through it. The game goes against regular gaming conventions like having any sort of HUD or minimap when driving around London. And while at first it seems like an interesting way to handle typical elements in a video game, it becomes incredibly aggravating when the only way to navigate the London streets is by using your turn signals on the back of your car, if they aren't damaged already. That's another thing that is ridiculous with this game. If you get hit once or twice, your car will start smoking and eventually become undrivable. The other frustration regarding the HUD is you have no way of discerning how far your objective is. How much time do you have to complete said objective? How many bullets do I have before I run out? Am I even at the right destination? All these problems go straight into the chum bucket that is realism for The Getaway. And while I can see getting away from these elements can help add to a more cinematic experience to the game, it does so at the expense of this being somewhat playable. Now, for example, when you find yourself in a gunfight, you might start to see your character limping or having giant blood stains on his suit. So you might wonder, how do I heal myself in this game? Or can I even heal at all? You know how you heal yourself in this game? You really want to know? You walk up to a wall, and you press yourself up against it, slowly breathing in and slowly breathing out, for sometimes up to 20 or 30 seconds. Now, does that sound like a fun game mechanic to have in a video game, where a large portion of the game involves shooting? Well, the answer is no. No, it isn't. But again, it's one of those tropes you see in the movies where a character will brace themselves up against a wall or sit down in a corner and ready themselves for the next scene. But again, another idea that doesn't help add to the game's playability. There were some incredibly anger-inducing moments in this game, mostly involving the shooting sections. The gunplay itself isn't very satisfying, not a lot to say other than it not being very fun. You have exactly two choices for aiming, auto aim and free aim. But good luck using the free aim in the middle of a shootout, so you're stuck with using the auto aim feature majority of the time. Remember leaning against the wall for healing? Well, I hope you have a lot of patience for doing that, because you can die just with a few gunshots. And since you don't want to start the mission all over again, you want to hug the wall as many times as you can in between shots. Also, there's only one movement in this game on foot: slow. Whether you're trying to evade gunfire or just trying to maneuver the damn stairs. Everything involving the on-foot movement in this game is a pain. And funnily enough, even with all the slow movement, the camera can't keep track of it. There is no camera control in this game whatsoever, driving or otherwise. You can use free aim to realign yourself, but that's it. The driving sections in the game are mostly boring. You have to navigate the tight streets of London with congested traffic and the police, while typically being on a time limit. The driving can be fun until you go around a corner and you lose control instantly if you turn too fast. So you're gonna have to feather the gas a little to make sure you don't fishtail coming out of a turn. And as I said before, if your car gets dinged up a few times, it eventually becomes undrivable and you need to boost another car. Also, if you get hit in the rear, you can lose the ability to use your turn signals. So you need to swap cars again, and so on and so forth. Rinse and repeat. Sometimes there will be conflicting instructions for driving as well. One of your partners will say to take it easy and don't be in a rush, only to find out you had exactly 2.5 minutes to get across town to the van that you're chasing. It's as if the game is telling you not to listen to itself. The further along you go in the story, the worse the cops and the rival gangs get in your way, adding to the already frustrating driving segments. I should mention that when I was playing the game, I had the strategy guide in hand as I was playing in case I ran into any problems. Needless to say, I had to use it quite often, and I recommend you do the same if you so choose to play this. There seems to be an endless list of gripes about this game that I can list, yet I still managed to get about halfway through the game. So I guess I just have a like-hate relationship with this game, but I definitely don't love it. I have to give this game credit for trying to defy the regular gaming conventions of objective markers and only having a visual representation of the damage you've taken in the shooter segments. I can't say that this game falls into the category of the GTA clone at the time. It is because this game has an entirely linear structure to it. There is a free roam mode in the game, but it isn't part of the main game. Not to mention, at least Grand Theft Auto tries to go for a satirical take on humor to go along with its crime stories. I understand that they wanted to make a very cinematic video game and have this impressive ensemble for the voice acting, but there's just not enough redeeming qualities to play through this game. If you feel the frustration level mounting up early on, then I can't recommend you try and trudge along with the game. The Getaway is a bad game that tries to take itself way too seriously, but I still had some enjoyment with it. Not a whole lot, but some enjoyment. It had enough interest to spawn a sequel, Black Monday, which had no real relations to this game. It was not well received at all, worse than the original in fact, and almost had a third for the PS3 somehow. I tried, but mostly failed to enjoy The Getaway, with its endless list of issues. The streets and cars of London are rendered pretty well for the time, but not much else is happening here outside of driving to point A to point B. There's just not much interaction with the city, regardless of how impressive it looks for its time. Which I think is how I feel about the game in general. Impressive to look at, but not much going on otherwise. And I imagine most other people would tell you the same.